Hello, I'm FPXToyCat and welcome back to the start of a brand new project video. And as you're probably aware by now, I really like destroying a lot more than I like creating. I don't know why that is. Minecraft is a game about building your imagination, but I'd much rather destroy what the game has built and turn it into a big giant flat area because there's just something so satisfying about it. In fact, I've done this for no reason so many times now that it's actually quite surprising that today's project, destroying an entire iceberg biome, I want to take most of this, or all of this in fact, and turn it into a giant flat area, which I think will be quite fun by itself, but I want to do this for more than just one reason, actual productive, useful, building-based reasons, because I want to make a mini set of floating islands, which I'd love to have be right above my coral reef, which as you can see is right down there. This one is a huge coral reef, which I feel like would be a great place for my floating icy city, and then I want to have that connected to the rest of my world via a boataway system, as I like to call it, because if you don't know, boats go crazy fast on blue ice. In fact, if you haven't seen this before, you're in for a treat, because riding a boat across blue ice is super fun and satisfying. And this is just on the edge, by the way. If you get perfectly in the center, like you better believe we're going to be going, you can see just how fast those numbers are declining. You can go close to 100 meters a second, 100 blocks a second, which means the 3,000 blocks we need to go to get from here to the rest of the world can be done in about 30 seconds. Just a little bit over, for being honest, which is just as fast as traveling through the nether. Admittedly, you could combine the two things together, but I like the idea of having an actual overworld form of transport between two places so far apart. So that's why I'm building this boataway system, but it requires a lot of blue ice. Blue ice is crafted from 9 packed ice, which means we need a lot of packed ice if we're going to have a 3,000 block, boataway, as I'm going to be calling it, which means we need to mine a lot of packed ice, right? Which is where this whole project comes together. We're going to be doing some small other things along the side. Like right now, for instance, you can see we've got a giant jungle over here. It's in the way of the boataway. In fact, I think it's going to cross into a tree. So we're going to deforest the entire thing to make way for the road, because that is the way humans do it, right? But we're going to be doing that, and then we'll get a bunch of jungle wood and have a really nice flat place, which will be perfect to make a new build, which can be connected to the boataway. So everything, it has a place, it has a plan. We're going to be building a few things along the path and just making a giant interconnection system that doesn't require the nether, because pretty much every way to connect up your world uses the nether, but I think it's way more fun not to. So with that said, let's get started chopping down these trees. So I've got a diamond axe, but for the amount of trees we're going to need to chop down, we're going to need more than just a regular diamond axe. So let's go and enchant it. So yeah, the current fastest way to do the journey in the overworld is to use fireworks, but it takes like 5 or 6 fireworks. It uses a lot of elytra durability, and it's not even really that fast. It still takes over a minute to get from, again, the main part of my world, close to 0, all the way out to here. And yeah, that's why we're doing this. Anyway though, let's see exactly what axe we get if we just give it a base level 30 enchantment. It looks like we're getting fortune, which is amazingly handy for chopping down trees. Is this really the best I've got? Okay, it seems super wasteful to use a fortune-free axe just to chop down a bunch of trees. I mean, it's kind of wasteful to chop down the trees anyway, but I decided to switch it out for an unbreaking free efficiency 4 with also fortune free on there, because why not axe? So yeah, we'll use this, and then when it breaks, we'll just repair it using another axe, which we've brought with us. Anyway though, you might be wondering exactly why we need to chop down an entire jungle biome. It seems, a bit over the top or a bit wasteful or whatever, but it's actually a really good reason why you always want to chop down your jungle biomes. If you're chopping down one of your forests, because we all love a bit of deforestation, we're humans, it's what we do, then you should always chop down your jungle biomes because they have the most pleasing grass below them. And to prove that point the best, here is the jungle biome now, with all of its trees intact. Here is the jungle 2 hours later with some of the trees gone, but most of them there. You can start to see the ground emerging now. And here it is now after the entire thing has been cleared away. That was something like 8 to 9 hours of chopping down trees, which was probably a little bit of inefficiency, like not knowing how to do it at first, but like it takes some hours to chop down an entire jungle, because just in case you can't see the true scale of this thing, it goes all the way from here, over there, over the mountain, both sides, all the way down there too. You can see how there's some remaining jungle leaves, but this took some doing just to have like a nice bit of pasture along the way of the journey, but that's a thing that's worth doing in my opinion, so let's get right back to it. Because sometimes when you're working on something which can be as intensive as this, especially in terms of resources, pickaxes, and of course time, I mean there's just a lot of time that goes into this, it can be fun to take some side projects in the middle of your projects, or maybe that's just me getting sidetracked and doing other things, but anyway, we're going to get to the destruction now, which like I said is easier because of a 1.12 bug fix to do with efficiency and mining. So let's get a lot of this done. Let's do a little bit of a stream. If you don't know, I stream on the channel when I do these sorts of big projects, when it's just like literally mining for 90 minutes, because it's a fun opportunity to talk to subscribers, do Q&A, do all the fun things that I think makes a stream fun. So yeah, we literally mine for 90 minutes on a stream, which is either the best stream in the world or the worst stream in the world, depending on your perspective. But yeah, let's do one of those now, and I'll show you the progress in 90 minutes. So 2 of my pickaxes had to die for this, but in 90 minutes, I achieved more than I achieved in literally hours of before this update, because of just the speed you can mine at with an efficiency pickaxe. Seriously, look at this iceberg over here, or rather, don't look at this iceberg because it doesn't exist anymore. But no, yeah, if you look around this entire area, it's pretty well flattened, and I think with a few more of these, we could probably flatten this entire iceberg biome, which is kind of cool, because it also gives us access to all of this packed ice and snow, which if of course we can take the packed ice and we can then condense it even more if we want to into blue ice, which is what we're all here for. So let's do that now. Let's see how much blue ice we have when we take an entire 4 chest loads of packed ice and turn it into the much more condensed blue ice, which is of course 9 packed ice to 1 blue ice. So yeah, after a few minutes of doing that, we now have this much blue ice, which is less impressive, but it still means that we have hundreds of blue ice to spend. But because we need this blue ice pathway to go from here, which is all the way, as you can see up there in the top left, at 2,800 blocks on the z-axis, we're going to need roughly 2,500 blue ice. Just over 700 blue ice here. We're going to need almost 4 times that number if we're going to get this done, which means we're going to need another 4 90-minute spans of mining. And one of the things about a project this big is, you know, even the pure material we're using, in this case the diamond pickaxe, is something that we're going to go through very quickly. So we're going to have to repair a lot of pickaxes, and yeah, we'll come back here after we've done that and start getting into even more of this. So here's what it looks like before my mining streams. Here it is after the first one. Here it is after 5 more destroyed pickaxes and 5 more hours of streaming, but we've made some serious progress. We're almost finished. Just in case you've seen a lot of these project videos and you're curious as to how I go through so many diamond pickaxes, I usually have a chest full of tools that are pretty much broken or ready to use, and when they get super low, like this pickaxe right here for instance, or this one, or this one, or the ones in my inventory, what I do is I make some new diamond pickaxes and I just repair them together. It's somewhat costly of XP, but in my opinion it's worth it overall. But yeah, we do this until we run out of pickaxes which have reasonable enchanting costs attached to them, and after that happens, I just start enchanting brand new ones from scratch, which requires level 30. It's a whole fun thing. But yeah, that's what I have. I have a store of pickaxes that I can repair until they're too costly to repair, and then I enchant new ones, and it's a never-ending cycle that gives me a lot of dead pickaxes. So when I'm doing a recycling challenge, I show exactly how many of the bits I've got. I wouldn't say this is necessarily recycling in Iceberg, but just in case you're curious, in addition to the 2,500 blue ice I've already spent on making the blue ice pathway, let's come back here and show all the other things we've got to pick up, because here you can see there's about another 1,000 blue ice. Then we've got this many chests filled with some amount of blue ice, but then a lot of packed ice and snow as well. Literally all the way to the end here, just packed ice, packed ice, packed ice. And in case you want to do the maths on this one, because every blue ice is worth 9 packed ice, and every packed ice is worth 9 ice, we've got 4,000 blue ice, and we've got 9,000 packed ice spread across a lot more chests. So the 4,000 blue ice becomes worth 36,000 packed ice, you know, or vice versa. And then when you add the 9,000 to that, you get 45,000, you know, packed ice, which when you take 45,000 packed ice, and let's say that you wanted to work out the ice required to make that, you'd need 405,000 bits of ice. So yeah, we have the equivalent, again, admittedly you can't deconvert, but we have the equivalent of 405,000 blocks of ice here, which is pretty crazy when you think about it. It's a lot more than this biome that we're in. In fact, I would say by a factor of about 10. And yeah, you might think your ice farm is so effective, but mining 400,000, you know, ice blocks would take you 100 pickaxes or something like that. And it would be tedious and boring. And, you know, although there were some tedious, boring moments, I would say it's much more fun and satisfying to go out and physically alter a biome to get your resources. And then when you use it for something else, like we're about to do, going to use some shock boxes and move this away, it'll also feel better. The progress so far on the floating islands is looking pretty good. I like having these random islands. We need to remove the pathways, of course, but I like having a lot of small ones on the periphery that aren't really there for anything besides looks. And then I want to have some core islands that do things like have the nether portal, have my bed, and have, like, you know, different chests, etc. This one I'm even gonna, you know, you might not have seen this yet, but one of the things I think is kind of cool about this is the boats rise up. They're kind of forced this way, and then the boats can actually follow this ice pathway because boats are actually wider than a block, which means they can go over gaps like this, and then we can later link this into the exit. So there's actually a way to enter and exit this place. Or just to show you real quick, because why not, right? Also, how is the zombie attacking me from this far away behind? Just to quickly show you this does work. Here you can see, oh wow, look at this. Kind of cool, kind of amazing, right? And yeah, basically, just to show it even works. And we leave the boat to do its own means. We kind of just float backwards, and then the ice does the rest of the work for us. How wonderful, right? So yeah, this is kind of nice, kind of wonderful. We're going to keep on working on expanding the islands, though. We've got a lot we've got to do, but that's half the fun. Oh, and because it was kind of annoying me that my shulker boxes were green and purple for my ice project, I decided to fill up my blue shulker boxes with the packed ice and indeed with the snow. So we're good. We got those things. Ready to make some islands, which I'm going to try and make in a roughly circle shape from here. So you should start to see that take form, because right now it looks just messy and random. But don't worry, this will be sorted. So one of the funny things about building these islands that you might see from the couple I built over there is that it's really tricky to actually start a brand new island because of the fact that, you know, I always recommend scaffolding as like, when you're doing something tricky, scaffolding gets you up, it gets you around fairly easy. But in this case, we need to get down and we need to get around, which is something scaffolding just can't really do for you. Scaffolding generally doesn't work downwards. And if you're curious as to why, it's the same reason every other block won't work this way. If we try to place a block underneath this one, there's just no way to do it. Minecraft, it allows you to place blocks on the side and the top of other ones, but you can't place blocks below other blocks unless you're physically down there. So it's easy to go up, but it's not very easy to go down. So what I figured I'd just do instead is make a very rough outline using the ice itself of where all the islands are going to be. Every time I change direction, that means probably another island. So like here, maybe actually just there, you know, you get the point. And that way we can have roughly level islands, and also it's just a fun little way to lay out the idea before actually building them. So I've made a lot more islands now, as you can see. We've got the kind of starting ones over here, and then we've got many, many more over there. It's actually going pretty well, I would say. I think the island part of it is mostly done. We've got a pretty good cluster. I was going to make a circle of them. In fact, I'll show you from the sky. It's way easier. I was going to make a circle of islands, but I think this looks way more natural. And also from certain different angles, such as the approach over here, you can see how it actually looks like a natural floating cluster of islands. I really do quite like it. I could see in theory expanding this in the future, but I think this has like the point that I'm trying to get at right now, and the only thing to add that would be essential in my opinion are a few more trees on the biggest islands. I think this island could do with a spruce tree. I think this island could do with a spruce tree. I think this island clearly needs to quickly have the very top of this filled in, but you can see how, yeah, we've pretty much finished every single one of these as of this right here, which is now done. We've pretty much finished all of the different islands, and that is actually pretty cool. So yeah, the bulk of the build is now finished. Now it's just about the small touches, the saplings, etc. So I'll get back to you when we finished all of those. So yeah, a small little thing like, I don't know, having an end chest there, I think that adds to the island. It adds to the point of having such a broad variety of them, while still also having them be functional. The other big thing that I think we should do maybe is deal with this, because although the water going out in 4 directions is maybe fun, it does make it a bit harder for boats to actually get to the top. So I'm thinking of having some glass go most of the way down, which is why it's handy. We've got a bunch of this here with some bones, so we can make some white glass, which I think would be great for this. I love white stained glass. I also love blue stained glass though, so we'll see which we decide on. Yeah, honestly, there just aren't enough opportunities to use blue stained glass. Maybe that's not the best of reasons to make it, but you know, sometimes in Minecraft, you gotta take the small victories, the small reasons, and that's what I've chosen to do today. So blue stained glass it is. And yeah, as you can see, it's going to look a little bit weird. It's going to have a strange connection to the bottom of the island, which I think it's worth treasuring or whatever. But then when we're done, we should have this kind of fun floatiness to it. By the way, as a pro tip, I can't express how annoying it is to work on things this way because of all the bubbles and the lifting up effect. So if you want to do something like this, pro tip, do it before you place the water, or things can get real annoying real fast. You know, here's a life pro tip. Here's some advice that can go real far for you. Don't go places that make it hard to breathe. If you notice, it's hard to get oxygen, the one key component to human life, or one of the many, but one of the most key. You know, how many seconds can you go without breathing? Try right now. Can you make it to the end of the video without breathing? Bet you can't. This might honestly be good enough. It's got a cool kind of mystical feel to it, but also I feel like I'm gonna go just a little bit lower too, for the sake of functionality. I think for look-wise, this looks almost as good as it can, but I think for functionality reasons, it's always important to have something that's useful and doesn't just look. Okay, now the other side of this is I want to have like a clear set of blocks to push against for when the boat is coming through here, just so again, it's easier to line up in that way. So we're going to have it come out from the floor and from out the ceiling. And then we'll have a gap in between, which might be a big mess. In fact, it will definitely be a big mess, as you can see. But maybe a big mess is worth it. But you can see something interesting here, where if you want to get rid of the extra flowing water, if you do it from the bottom, you're just going to expand the flowing water, you're going to create a bigger problem. Whereas if you do it from the top, you actually fix things. So now you know that life lesson. You should have hopefully known it before, but you know what? You're watching Minecraft videos, there's things you can learn. I'm sure we already know that. It's funny because most of the videos I used to make on this channel used to be kind of Minecraft education in that way. It's funny the shift has kind of been like, hey, you might learn some stuff as you go, because that's just like instinctively trained into me. But how about we talk about the very nature of reality, nature, and value instead? I'm not saying it's a bad change, I'm just saying it's a fun one. By the way, while it's nighttime and while we have night vision from the conduit effect, doesn't this look beautiful? Like, these islands look amazing against the night sky backdrop, so that's something nice. Until it runs out. But for real, don't these things look beautiful? I mean, I think so. I think this is the best form of lighting you can get for them. So yeah, we kind of nailed that, I'd say. I wouldn't say we've nailed this quite as much, but there is definitely a charm to the way this is done, and it should hopefully work better with boats. We can actually test that pretty easily. Okay, I have a really, really stupid idea that might look terrible, or, you know, actually, doesn't matter, but I think it'd be kind of cool regardless. If we take out some of these blocks, we can just add to them, like make a hole in the ground and then put one of these there instead. We can actually light up some of the islands with fire, and if I'm not mistaken, I could be. I know packed ice obviously isn't affected, but based on the fact that I have a torch over there, I'm assuming snow also isn't affected, which means we could light up some of the islands using fire. Again, it seems logical to me that even though a torch doesn't melt snow, fire definitely should melt snow on any logical level. But good news, playing Minecraft, logic not required. So yeah, things are pretty good. We've finished an insane project. And the cool thing about this is like this end thing over here. Look, making some islands in the sky. This is something that isn't hugely difficult to do by itself, but it's all the bits and steps that go into it that make this such a fun project. It's all the little things that go into that. And I think that's what makes this overall like a really fun, aspirational thing to do. You can do this in creative in 30 minutes if you want to, or you can work on a silly project that seems like it'd be so much easier in creative, you know, doing all these ridiculous steps and the hours that it took for the streams and the things in between, and even the clearances that were required to make the pathway here. They all seem ridiculous on the surface, but they've resulted in something that was very fun overall, that has this end kind of goal to it, which I think is beautiful. Maybe you agree, maybe you don't, and maybe right now you're seeing some shots of me flying around using these fireworks like my hand in HUD, and maybe you like how those shots look and you're like, oh yeah, this was a fun little thing. Or maybe you look at this and you say, this is the worst thing. You spent those number of hours, that ridiculous dozens at this point, right? You spent all of those hours and what you achieved was this. I could have done it so much better. I want you to use whichever feeling you feel from this and use it as a way to work on your next survival build, because, you know, again, it can be easy to lose track of what the point of Minecraft is about. But it's about making things you enjoy, or making better things than the things other people enjoy. You can do whatever you want, man. It's your game. No one can tell you what you can and cannot do. Either way, though, I hope you did all enjoy today's video. You can like it if you did like it. You can share it if you really liked it. And, I don't know, you can hit it with a diamond sword if you want to see more videos like this. You know how you hit the video with a diamond sword? Smash that bell. There we go. I did it. I became every YouTuber ever in the world. But no, thank you very much for watching today's video, because I will see you in the next one. And if you want to see the live streams that made this possible, I should clarify, I do them on YouTube itself. Again, turning on notifications is not just great because it means you're more likely to see my videos, which is great because that's how I make my living. But also, if you want to see live streams, I tweet out about them at IBXToyCat. And also, they're here on YouTube. You can't follow specifically live streams, but they should show up on your homepage at some point. If not, you can go to youtube.com/c/toycat/live. There is a page you can go to, but I don't know if it works. But yeah, live streams on YouTube. If you want to see them, they exist. Probably, sort of. Anyway. See you next time. Bye.